Eat up, loser. When will you see real food again? That voice hit me harder than the insult. Same voice from high school. Same smirk. Same eyes that once drenched my khakis with grape juice in front of the whole cafeteria and shouted, "He peed himself." My name's Daniel Reed. And 20 years ago I was the kid people laughed at, especially her. I hadn't planned on attending the reunion. But when the invite arrived, something inside me said I needed to go. Not for nostalgia. Not for friends. For closure. And there she was. Marissa Hallbrook. Now Marissa LeClaire. Glittering in diamonds. Arm hooked around a man bragging about their 5 companies and 6 homes. My name tag must have blended in too well. She didn't recognize me. Still chasing dreams? She snorted, nudging that plate of cold leftovers toward me. Thought you'd be in jail or working valet. I smiled. The room buzzed with laughter and clinking glasses, but I wasn't hearing any of it anymore. My hand reached into my jacket pocket as I stood. I walked to her table slowly, calmly, and without a word. I dropped my black metal business card into her wine glass. Her face twisted in confusion as she pulled it out. Then her lips started moving, reading aloud. Founder. Vio. Vanguard Horizons. Her fingers trembled. Then she looked up. Looked at me. Finally saw me. I leaned in. You have 30 seconds, Marissa. I'd choose every word carefully. She blinked, panic blooming, because she had no idea what was coming next. Marissa stammered, "Wait, you're Daniel Reed?" Her husband turned, eyebrows raised. The Daniel Reed? Vanguard Horizons? Honey, this guy's on Forbes 40 under 40. She dropped the card. It clinked against her wine glass and fell to the floor. The whole table went silent. "Oh," I said calmly, brushing invisible lint from my sleeve. "So now I'm not the loser anymore?" Marissa opened her mouth, probably to lie. She always did love a performance. But I cut her off. "You know what I remember?" I asked. "The day you hacked my college application account and replaced my essay with a copy of Green Eggs and Ham. You said I wasn't Ivy material." Her husband blinked. I leaned closer. "Did she tell you she used to call me Special Ed in front of the whole class?" She went pale. "I didn't come to ruin your night, Marissa," I said, standing up straighter. "I just wanted you to know the man you humiliated is now funding the scholarship your niece is applying for. And guess what? She made it to the second round." Marissa's mascara started to run. Her voice cracked. "Daniel, please don't." I smiled. "Oh, don't worry. I'm fairer than you ever were." I looked around the table. "Enjoy your dinner, everyone." And as I walked away, her husband called after me. "Mr. Reed, do you have a card for me too?" I didn't even turn around. But I knew. The rest of the night was about to crumble. I didn't return to my seat. Instead, I stepped out onto the balcony where the city lights stretched like a promise, blinding, beautiful, distant. My pulse was calm. Years ago, I would have begged for their approval. Now, I owned the building hosting this reunion. I lit a cigar I didn't need. Just for the symbolism. The door behind me creaked. Marissa stepped out, clutching her shawl like a shield. "Daniel, please. Can we talk?" I didn't answer. She exhaled shakily. "I was young. Cruel, yes, but we were all stupid back then." "No," I said, turning. "You weren't stupid. You were deliberate." Her voice hardened. "Fine. What do you want? To ruin my marriage? Is this your plan?" I raised an eyebrow. "I'm not the one lying to her husband." She flinched. I continued, "You still think this is about you. It's not. You're a footnote in a chapter 1 already closed. But tonight? You reopened it." She reached for my arm, her voice cracking. "Please, Dan, don't say anything. I'll lose everything." For a moment I saw the girl she once was. Charming. Calculated. Ruthless. I gently peeled her hand off my sleeve. "Maybe it's time you lose something," I said softly, "so you can finally understand what the rest of us lived with." She stood frozen. I walked away, straight into the ballroom, where her husband was laughing with the same girl Marissa used to bully in high school. And that gave me an idea. I returned just in time to hear Marissa's husband, David, tapping his glass for attention. "A quick toast," he said, grinning. "To 20 years since high school, and to the surprises life brings." Laughter and clinking glasses filled the room. Marissa had re-entered too, but her eyes were glued to me. Her lipstick was perfect, but her hands trembled behind the glass. David raised his drink again. "And of course to my brilliant wife, who helped make me the man I am today." My gaze didn't leave hers as I stepped forward. "May I say a few words?" He chuckled, "Of course." You've been quiet all evening. I took the mic. I used to sit alone at lunch. I once came to school with a urine stain on my pants because someone spilled juice on me in front of everyone. Laughter faded. Heads turned. But that day made me who I am. Marissa was frozen. I built a tech company with one goal: to ensure no one like that kid ever feels powerless again. A few people clapped politely, unsure. And tonight I want to announce something else. Our company's new mentorship program for underdogs. Those who were mocked, overlooked, and underestimated. I looked directly at Marissa. Because sometimes, it's the quiet ones you should be most afraid of. David's brow furrowed. Wait, you're that Daniel? Marissa whispered something into his ear. His smile vanished. That was just the beginning. Because the next name on my revenge list was his. David followed me out of the hall as the guests murmured behind us. Daniel R. Keaton? CEO of Iron Veil Tech. He was sweating now. The confidence had drained from his face. Yes, I replied calmly, sliding my jacket back over my shoulders. You and your wife treated me like garbage in school. Then again tonight. But see, I've learned that power isn't loud, it's quiet. Strategic. He stammered. That mentorship speech, it wasn't just for show? I leaned in. That was the warning shot. David flinched as I walked past him and returned to my table. Marissa was no longer smiling. She clutched her champagne glass like it was the only thing anchoring her. She knew what came next. David returned to her side, whispering frantically. She turned pale but nodded, trying to stay composed. Meanwhile, my assistant walked in, Vanessa, sharp and poised. She handed me a folder. I stood once more. Before I go, I said, voice calm, I want to share something. See, Iron Veil recently acquired a real estate analytics firm. Guess what popped up? I flipped the folder open, revealing satellite images and irregularities in David's development permits. Illegal zoning. Bribed city planners. Falsified documents. A hush spread across the hall. This will be going public tomorrow morning, unless one of you hands me a formal apology, signed, notarized, and framed. Marissa's face crumpled. David froze. But the most satisfying part? They hadn't yet realized what I really came here for. That was still in my back pocket. They didn't sleep that night. I knew because I received 4 calls from blocked numbers. And ignored every one. By morning, my email inbox had a carefully worded message from Marissa. We apologize for the misunderstanding. Let's put this behind us. Misunderstanding. Cute. I forwarded it to my legal team and replied with a single sentence. You'll need to do better. That afternoon, David called a press conference. One that failed spectacularly when reporters began asking about the leaked Iron Veil audit report. Yes, I had published it. The cover-up, the zoning fraud, the fake consulting firms. All of it. Their company stock crashed 23% in 3 hours. Sponsors pulled out. Partnerships died mid-signature. But I still hadn't touched the one thing they valued most. Reputation. So I sent one final invitation, to Marissa and David. A private dinner. Just us. She arrived first, visibly rattled. No diamonds this time. No smirk. David followed, fidgeting. What do you want, Daniel? I placed a sleek black box on the table. Inside. A framed photo from high school. Me, pants soaked, face red, Marissa laughing beside him. I used to think this was the worst day of my life, I said. Now. It's the reason I built everything. They stayed quiet. I'm not here for revenge anymore, I said. I'm here for the final deal. David blinked. What deal? I smiled slowly. One signature from you, and your entire company belongs to me. Marissa gasped. But David reached for the pen. David stared at the pen like it weighed 1,000 pounds. Don't do it, Marissa hissed. This is insane. But David was already sweating, eyes bouncing between me and the framed photo. What happens if I don't sign? He asked. I leaned forward calm. Then tomorrow morning the SEC gets my file. And the IRS. And your largest investor. His hand trembled as he picked up the pen. Marissa's face turned sheet white. You won't get away with this, she muttered. I looked at her with a strange sort of pity. Marissa, you got away with it for 20 years. I'm just catching up. The moment the pen touched paper, I felt it. Closure. David signed. Slowly. Reluctantly. But fully. I slid the signed contract into my briefcase and stood. Enjoy the rest of your evening, I said and turned to leave. Marissa jumped up, panic breaking through her bitterness. Wait, Daniel, what do you even want with Iron Veil? I paused at the door. Nothing, I said. I'm dismantling it. Piece by piece. Starting Monday. Her knees gave out. David didn't move. He just stared into his empty glass. Back at my apartment, I placed the old high school photo on a shelf beside the signed contract. The boy in the picture was gone. And the man standing in his place? He had just ended a dynasty. But one person still hadn't shown their face. My father. The one who'd told me I'd never be enough. I had one final visit to make. I didn't call. I didn't warn him. I walked up the same cracked steps of the old house he refused to leave, the one I'd offered years ago to renovate. He called it a waste on a failure like me. He opened the door, confused. Smaller than I remembered. I saw you on TV, he said, voice rough. Didn't think it was real. I nodded. It is. He looked past me, expecting guards or cameras. But I'd come alone. I didn't mean what I said back then, he muttered. I was just angry. You were always quiet. Sensitive. Not like your sister. I studied him. The man who mocked me for reading. Who told me I'd never be a leader. You told me I'd amount to nothing, I said. Come. Clear. He looked away. We all make mistakes. I pulled out the same envelope I had given Marissa and David. This is the deed to this house. I bought it last year. You can stay here rent-free for life. His face twitched with surprise. But on one condition, I continued. You never call me your son again. Not to neighbors. Not to the press. Not even to yourself. His mouth opened, but no words came. I turned and walked away. Not out of bitterness, but peace. Outside the air felt different. Lighter. In my pocket was a letter I had written myself 5 years ago, when I was broke and alone, titled, For When You Finally Win. I read it that night and smiled. Because I had.